With President Biden digging in and vowing to stay on the ballot, many Democrats in close races are worrying about the impact on their race. Rep. Adam Schiff, who is running for a California Senate seat, summed it up this week when he spoke out on Meet the Press. Let's watch.
Are Democrats in trouble with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket?
Look, there are concerns with the impact on down ballot races if the president doesn't do well.
Is he dragging down ballot races as we speak?
At present, our down ballot candidates in the Senate and House are doing well. They're all ahead. They are running well ahead of the president. But you can only run so far ahead of the president. And so obviously Joe Biden is going to need to consider for his own sake and his own legacy, can he beat Donald Trump? He's the best to beat Donald Trump. But also the profound impact this decision, maybe the most important of his presidency, will have on the House, on the Senate, on the future of the country.
Some Democratic strategists are trying to attract funding from big donors who say they're no longer going to kick into Biden's war chest specifically. This is, of course, a complicated dance. Many political scientists say voters these days tend to vote for a party over individual candidates. Here to unpack all of this and delve into the races at risk is Democratic strategist Kevin Walling. Great to have you with us, Kevin.
Robbie, Michael, good to see you.
Yes, nice little Fox News reunion. We used to be on the Kennedy's
We may have to give Kennedy a little call.
We look better with purple.
That's right. So give us your lowdown on what's going on. I still say no way is Biden getting out, but am I becoming increasingly Pollyanna-ish about this?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we have to remember this is a guy who got elected to the Senate at 30, has wanted to be president ever since then, has run any number of times for the presidency, finally has that. And in the history of this country, we haven't seen many incumbent presidents willingly give that up. And again, he's got his team around him. I don't know if they're having the honest conversations that we'd like them necessarily to have. In that Stephanopoulos interview, he talked about polls that he's seeing. I don't know if it's dug in.
What polls are those?
Exactly right. Yeah. So, I mean, he makes reference to these polls all the time in terms of where he's up. Since the debate, not a lot of the ground has shifted, actually, but it's pretty clear in a lot of these battleground states that it's a much more difficult path.
By team around him, let's be clear on who we mean. We mean Jill Biden and Hunter Biden. So let's get into the specific down ballot races. It looks to me like, counterintuitively, it has not been, we discussed this yesterday, the very left, very progressive people so far who have already had a combative relationship with Biden. You might have expected them to be turning on him. But the people raising the most concern right now are those more centrist Dems who are in losable races, swing district races. How are they feeling?
Yeah, Robbie, it's a great point. I mean, the fact that you saw Congresswoman AOC out there with a pretty supportive response to the president's standing is interesting. Now you're seeing some folks like Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado. He's not up in cycle, but John Tester and Sherrod Brown, Ohio and Montana certainly are, giving indications that they want to see the president actually perform better out there, make the case to the American people, because I think there is some fear in terms of the down ballot aspect. Again, also polls, new poll out of Wisconsin, right, shows the president losing by 5 points, but Tammy Baldwin winning by the same margin by 5 points over her Republican challenger. So there is that dynamic, and we've seen that play out where the president's standing isn't necessarily tied to incumbent standing in terms of some of these key races, whether it be Arizona with Ruben Gallego, Tammy Baldwin, as I mentioned, in Wisconsin, Sherrod Brown. Ohio, there is that disconnect where the president isn't so much of a drag that we've seen just yet on those down ballot races.
Democrats have a chance to have the first black speaker in Hakeem Jeffries, but if the president stays on the ticket and brings the entire ticket down, basically, that's going to be an opportunity squandered. How much longer do you think the CBC sticks with President Biden, given the opportunity they may miss out on?
Yeah, Michael, it's a really good point. And that was one of the buoys to the president's standing. He obviously had that call earlier in the week with them. Both the CBC, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, have come out strongly for the president. But there is that dynamic with Hakeem. There are some forecasts that show that the Democrats are less positioned to take back the House. That's all we talked about for the last year, is that Democrats are likely to take back the House, Republicans likely to take back the Senate, given some of the dynamics in some of these states. You're seeing, to your point, Michael, some of these frontliners also making waves, a handful of them, Angie Craig in Minnesota, some others that have, Earl Blumenauer, for example, that are in tighter races, distancing themselves. There's indications that the former speaker is saying, as we know, she's just win, baby. If you got to come out against me, as we remember in previous cycles.
win,
Just
baby,
win,
win.
baby. So she's given some leeway, some breath to some of those folks to distance themselves from the president. She's also said, we've got to finish up NATO today. The press conference has moved back to 6:30, and we'll see what happens tomorrow when folks are leaving town, if they kind of release a statement and hop on the plane back to their district.
I mean, she said, Nancy Pelosi yesterday, asked about Biden over and over again. She kept saying, what's his decision to make? It's his decision to make. I'm thinking, he made the decision.
He already made the decision
made it.
2
It's
weeks
made.
ago. Yeah.
So is that her way of saying? And there's a little bit of a mob-esque. I know you'll do the right thing. Like, is the right thing for him to get out? Tim Kaine said that yesterday. Our News Nation people interviewed him, and he said, I know he'll do the right thing. I know he'll do the patriotic thing for this country. That sounds to me like some indirect pressure from some prominent Dems, Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House.
Sure.
Tim Kaine, we don't remember it, but was the
VP nominee.
2016, that's
Hillary
right,
Clinton. Is that going to have any bearing on what he does?
Well, we forget, Nancy Pelosi, we think, San Francisco, but she got her
Baltimore,
Baltimore baby, right? So question about the mom, I don't think there's as good as that. But coming from that kind of family in Baltimore where it's all about vote counting, and we know that's what her tenure as Speaker was all about. Both her and Leader Schumer are focused on their races, right? They would like to have a Democratic president, but at the end of the day, they want a majority for both those caucuses. And I think they're, again, giving some breath to that. We saw indications that Chuck Schumer on some calls with donors is leaving the door open potentially for a replacement for the president. Now, Michael, we talked about this too. It's got to be, likely the vice president. You can't skip over the first black woman vice president on the ticket from a financial standpoint too, just in terms of how the party operates with resources, that they're on these joint victory committees with state parties. It's got to be her. And again, she's out there campaigning as well. She was in Nevada, in Texas. I think she's in North Carolina today. So she's still kind of under the radar doing that base engagement work, but it's got to be her if not the president.
Let me ask you about donors real quick. People calling for the president to get out may not work, but if donors cut off funds, is that really the thing that'll drive the president? Because without money, it's not just his race that'll go down. The entire Democratic Party apparatus would go down.
Yeah, it's a great point. And funny enough, we've seen a rise in grassroots donations to the party since the debate. I think 33 million or something like that, the best month that they've seen on record in June. But to your point, Michael, it's all about the bundlers, right? So that you've seen this rise in grassroots donors, people saying we got the back of the president. That operation is already going full steam. But then it is a question of all these people that want to be ambassadors in the second term that are bundling hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Saw that letter from George Clooney, that op-ed. He's one of those bundlers. If that's the case, that you're starting to lose steam with the people that really power the mechanics of this party operation.
Yeah, Ari Emanuel came out a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Said the same thing.
Yeah, I think I saw reporting yesterday that Katzenberg had begged Clooney not to do that op-ed in the New York Times because that was going to be so devastating given Clooney's role as a fundraise hauler for the Democrats.
Yeah, it's we talk about his celebrity status and stuff like that, but George Clooney and his wife have been huge donors and backers to the president. Headlined in that op-ed that he talked about, that $30 million haul in LA just a few weeks ago for the president. So he's coming at it from that approach, not necessarily a celebrity approach. Obviously, he's got the name, so we all talk about it.
Yeah.
But at this point, you also got to win the day every day, right? So the president, I talked about, had a good day with the CBC Hispanic Caucus on Monday, Tuesday, but struggled a bit yesterday with that op-ed, with Speaker Pelosi's comments on Morning Joe, with the reports of Chuck Schumer behind the scenes. So again, all eyes are on this press conference.
Yes, he's going to have
today at 6:30. If he can win the day-to-day, stem a little bit of the bleeding heading into the weekend.
Yeah, he's going to have that chance, like you said, tonight at 6 to improve morale among Democrats and reassure people that he can get through the most basic confrontational, hostile questioning.
The beatings will not stop until morale improves.
Even then, they might not stop. All right, stay tuned for more Rising right after this.